Greetings! John and Emily Parker, recent arrivals from Sun-drenched Texas, harbored expectations of witnessing the iconic Red Square, the formidable Kremlin, and perhaps even encountering bears roaming the streets. A humorous notion, admittedly. Yet ingrained stereotypes die hard. However, Moscow defied our preconceived notions, proving vastly different from the images conjured in our minds during the planning stages of our transatlantic journey. This metropolis presents itself as a vibrant kaleidoscope where it appears that a significant portion of the populace hails from the diverse regions of Central Asia, enriching the urban landscape with their distinct cultures and traditions. Conversely, another contingent seems to originate from an entirely dissimilar realm, imbued with an air of mystery and intrigue. Allow us to recount our experiences as Moscow captivated us with its grandeur, its aesthetic allure, the heterogeneity of its inhabitants, and a series of unforeseen, occasionally comical occurrences that transformed our sojourn into an unforgettable adventure. Initial revelation: Central Asian influence dominates Moscow. Scarcely had we disembarked from our aircraft at Sheremetyevo International Airport when we were immediately enveloped in an atmosphere that transcended the familiar, as though we had been transported to a different epoch. En route to our hotel situated on Firskaya Street via taxi, John remarked with palpable astonishment, "Emily, observe. It appears that the majority of individuals present are non-Russian. Indeed, as subsequently elucidated by local denizens, approximately every other individual in Moscow is a migrant, originating from the Central Asian republics of Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, and Tajikistan. Their presence is ubiquitous, integral to the urban fabric, diligently sweeping the thoroughfares in their conspicuously orange vests, preparing delectable shawarma at numerous kiosks, and assiduously transporting weighty cartons within sprawling commercial centers. It is akin to Texas, albeit with a more pronounced and flamboyant Mexican influence," John observed, a sentiment with which I concurred, given the conspicuous nature of the phenomenon. Our taxi chauffeur, Azamat, a native of Bishk, demonstrated himself to be a veritable and impassioned tour guide. As we navigated the dense traffic congestion, he conveyed with genuine ardor, "Moscow is my second domicile. I harbor affection for this city. I have resided here for a duration of 5 years, laboring diligently to sustain my kin, who remain in my homeland." His articulation of the Russian language possessed a subtle, almost imperceptible inflection, yet it was imbued with such vitality and spontaneity that we could not resist eliciting a smile as we attended to his narrative. Azamat proceeded to display a poignant photograph depicting his progeny attired in traditional Kyrgyz headgear, kalpak, and assured us that should we ever aspire to savor authentic plov, meticulously prepared according to time-honored traditions, he possessed precise knowledge of the appropriate venue to patronize. Such remarkable hospitality! I whispered to John, whereupon we definitively apprehended that Moscow encompassed not solely the majestic Russian cupolas and antiquated cathedrals, but also a resplendent, multifaceted Oriental flavor that bestowed upon this metropolis its singular character, awe-inspiring grandeur, the Kremlin and the Bolshoi Theater. On the subsequent day, replete with anticipation, we embarked upon an excursion to the very nucleus of Moscow, the venerable Kremlin. Upon entering the renowned Red Square, we stood transfixed in utter amazement, akin to youthful children beholding a colossal Christmas tree adorned with resplendent illumination and ornaments for the inaugural occasion. This is reminiscent of our Capitol building, albeit imbued with a substantially richer chronicle and ethos, John declared reverently, while admiring the gilded cupolas of the cathedrals and the antique brick walls. The Cathedral of Vasily the Blessed, distinguished by its distinctive polychromatic cupolas, evoked the imagery of a fairy tale citadel derived from childhood reveries, an architectural marvel conspicuously absent from the landscape of the United States. We leisurely ambled along the ancient cobblestones, endeavoring to capture in photographic form each tower and every niche, whilst the surrounding environment teemed with activity. Throngs of tourists representing disparate global locales, talented street musicians cultivating a singular ambience, and naturally a plethora of transients from Central Asia proffering to passers-by piping hot, fragrant potato pastries, Subsequently, we made a pilgrimage to the globally acclaimed Bolshoi Theater. Procurement of tickets for the ballet The Nutcracker incurred a substantial expenditure, yet the spectacle indisputably merited every monetary unit expended. Majestic gilded chandeliers, plush velvet seating, the timeless compositions of Tchaikovsky, all coalesced to engender a sense of enchantment, as though we had undergone a temporal transposition. There is categorically nothing analogous to this in our native Texas, I whispered adoringly to John, while maintaining unwavering visual focus on the live dancers swirling across the proscenium. Upon the cessation of the performance, we exited the premises, where a Kyrgyz gentleman garbed in a traditional apron was grilling fragrant shish kebab on a barbecue grill proximate to the Metro concourse. The intoxicating fragrance of spices commingled with the frigid Moscow air, and we, unable to resist the temptation, resolved to procure one skewer apiece, decidedly more palatable than any Texan barbecue. John asserted with conviction, a sentiment with which I was in complete accord. Commercial emporiums, an oriental bazaar encased in glass and concrete. Contemporary Moscow, moreover, boasts vast, scintillating commercial emporiums wherein existence pulsates with vitality. We elected to patronize Aviapark, situated on Kodvinka, and at one juncture I nearly misplaced John amidst the expansive, clamorous assemblage. Emily, it is remarkably akin to a genuine Oriental bazaar in Samarkand, he exclaimed exultantly, gesturing towards the numerous stalls laden with delectable baklava, assorted nuts, and succulent desiccated fruits. Vendors, predominantly originating from diverse regions of Central Asia, greeted us with affable smiles and enthusiastically proffered samples of their respective merchandise. One amongst them, a cordial Tajik bearing the appellation Rustam, bestowed upon us a complimentary portion of freshly baked flatbread adorned with sesame seeds, avowing with pride, "These are baked in Dushanbe, partake. Indulge to your heart's content." We experienced a modicum of unease at the munificent offer, yet we elected not to decline. The flatbread proved to be exceptionally delectable. The food court situated on the uppermost level proved to be even more captivating and varied. Whereas in the United States we are accustomed to a conventional assortment of burgers and tacos, we were greeted with a genuine gastronomic feast, fragrant lagman, succulent manti, and friable plov. John and I, without hesitation, selected a generous serving of plov accompanied by tender lamb, whereupon a smiling server, an Uzbek named Shirzad, winked at us while remarking, "This is not merely some form of fast fare, this constitutes the authentic soul of the East." I conjecture where else in America one might encounter something of this nature. We queried each other with levity, while contentedly devouring plov with unadulterated avidity. Visitors here do not merely engage in employment to procure a livelihood, they infuse into contemporary Moscow the singular flavors of their native highlands and expansive steppes, a phenomenon that we regarded with fervent enthusiasm. Upholding purity, visitors exercise diligence in city stewardship. Each vernal awakening, while peering out of our aperture, we observe the gradual reanimation of the expansive metropolis of Moscow. The purification of the thoroughfares evolved into an authentic and captivating spectacle. Those individuals clad in conspicuously orange uniforms constitute a veritable legion of cleanliness, John observed on one occasion while scrutinizing the numerous natives of Central Asia who assiduously swept the thoroughfares, meticulously gathered refuse, and even tenderly cleansed antiquated edifices. One amongst them, a juvenile Kyrgyz bearing the appellation Nurlan, chanced to encounter us on the celebrated Arbat. He adroitly wielded a broom, articulating a cheerful tune in his indigenous dialect, and subsequently, with abruptness, ceased his exertions, directed his gaze towards us, and propounded, "Are you of American provenance? Do you aspire to capture a joint photograph?" We affirmed affirmatively, and he forthwith adopted a pose with his broom grasped in his appendages, as though it were a stringed instrument. While articulating with levity, I epitomize a veritable rock luminary here, a conqueror of the thoroughfares. Local denizens disclosed to us that absent these diligent individuals, Moscow would likely inundate in filth and debris. They labor tirelessly irrespective of the meteorological conditions, rain or snow, and execute their duties with a singular, genuine sense of satisfaction in their vocation. One shall categorically fail to witness anything analogous to this in Texas, John remarked reflectively. A sentiment with which I concurred unreservedly. The purification of the thoroughfares constitutes solely a routinized task in our society, whereas here it constitutes an authentic manifestation of artistry, necessitating affection and self-sacrifice. Comical episodes, scenarios wherein we found ourselves in awkward circumstances. Moscow furnished us with a plethora of humorous and incongruous anecdotes that shall linger in our memories for a protracted duration. On one occasion, we resolved to embark upon a voyage on the illustrious Moscow Metro, an event that transpired into an authentic escapade for our benefit. At the Kievskaya station, we were nearly swept away by an expansive current of individuals in a state of precipitation, and subsequently a juvenile Kyrgyz individual designated Beksat extended assistance to our persons and facilitated our understanding of the intricate vending apparatus utilized for the acquisition of tickets. "Depress this appendage, brother," he implored with a benevolent smile directed towards John, who bashfully manipulated the erroneous actuators for an extended span of 5 minutes until Beksat, with eventual success, executed the operation on his own initiative. Circumstances are substantially simplified in Osh. One merely deposits a monetary token and embarks upon a tranquil journey, he averred with uproarious laughter, while we experienced a sensation of awkwardness, analogous to pupils subjected to a demanding examination. An additional droll incident transpired within a diminutive cafe situated on Tverskaya Street. We entreated a cup of fragrant coffee, whereupon an affable Uzbek attendant bearing the appellation Alisher conveyed to our presence fragrant thyme-infused tea and freshly baked flatbreads. "This is decisively superior to your coffee," he avowed with conviction, and we, naturally, refrained from articulating any form of disagreement. The tea manifested itself to be genuinely divine. One shall categorically fail to encounter such an elevated standard of service in the United States, I whispered to John, who merely affirmed in affirmation, while masticating upon a pliable flatbread with evident appetite. On one occasion in Red Square, an ebullient Tajik souvenir vendor designated Nurid unexpectedly accelerated towards us and forcibly proffered a decorated matryoshka figurine. "Accept, sister, as this shall assuredly bestow upon you felicity," he expostulated vociferously, and subsequently initiated the articulation of a cheerful melody in his indigenous dialect while executing a series of dance movements in our vicinity. John and I experienced paroxysms of laughter, and the aforementioned matryoshka figurine maintains its presence in our quarters to this present epoch, serving as a tangible reminder of that jubilant day. Attractions absent from the United States, Zaryadny Park and VDNKH. We, of course, were simply unable to forego a visit to the innovative Zaryadny Park. This unique locale resembles a fragment of the future, seamlessly integrated within the historical nucleus of Old Moscow. Everything present appears to be derived from a fantastical motion picture pertaining to interspatial exploration, John avowed admiringly, whilst maintaining a stationary position upon a suspended span above the Moscow River. The panoramic vista of the majestic Kremlin which emanated from this juncture simply deprived one of the capacity for vocalization, and the unconventional vitreous dome of the glass crust involuntarily evoked the imagery of implausible, futuristic conservatories. Numerous individuals from Central Asia ambled casually throughout the park alongside their progeny, and one amongst them, a juvenile Kyrgyz designated Talget, bestowed upon us a complimentary portion of succulent desiccated apples. These originate at elevated altitudes within our mountainous regions. Be certain to sample them. The internationally renowned VDNKH moreover engendered an indelible impression upon our senses. Expansive pavilions, resplendent fountains, a venerable gilded statuary portraying a stook of grain, this locale approximates a colossal fairground, albeit multiplied by a factor of hundreds in terms of scale and fascination. John and I savored the experience of traversing the grounds aboard modern electric conveyance devices, indulged in delectable frozen confections, and subsequently inadvertently stumbled upon an Uzbek tent proffering fragrant samsa. The vendor, designated Jamshid, baked the confection before our very visual receptors, and John and I nearly experienced a deglutitive catastrophe as a consequence of the pleasure derived from the culinary encounter. One shall categorically fail to discover such a degree of amplitude in the United States, John declared with conviction. And I assented to his articulation without reservation. Fairs constitute merely a form of recreational diversion and amusement within our sphere, whereas here they embody an integral existence, replete with vibrant chromatics and unforgettable impressions, that which prevailed upon our senses, aspects absent from the United States. Moscow overwhelmed us with aspects that we had never witnessed within our native country. Firstly, we must cite the renowned Moscow Metro. These stations embody genuine subterranean palaces, marmoreal columns, exquisite mosaics, effulgent candelabras. At the Komsomolskaya station, we maintained an attitude of astonishment with our countenances agape until an itinerant individual from Tajikistan designated Rakim impelled us towards the transport vehicle. Proceed with alacrity, lest the transport shall depart. Secondly, we must enumerate the remarkably delectable and diverse cuisine. Fragrant plov, succulent manti, appetizing shashlik. These embody not merely pedestrian comestibles, but an integral and singular cultural phenomenon that industrious individuals from Central Asia transport to this locale. We categorically lack such a degree of heterogeneity, I sighed, while contentedly ingesting yet another newly baked flatbread. And in addition, the individuals themselves. Visitors from Central Asia undeniably impart upon Moscow a singular degree of warmth and cordiality. They invariably manifest expressions of benevolence, dispense generosity, and narrate engaging anecdotes. On one occasion, we became thoroughly disoriented proximate to the expansive GUM Emporium, whereupon a Kyrgyz janitor designated Kubinich benevolently guided us towards our destination, while articulating a cheerful canticle pertaining to the mountainous regions of his homeland. Everyone in America is excessively preoccupied with their own endeavors, and none accord attentiveness to their interlocutors, John asserted with legitimacy, and I pondered that he was veracious. Within Moscow, a singular atmosphere exists, a soul that we experience the absence of in its entirety. Penultimate day, farewell to the metropolis. On our concluding day preceding our imminent departure, we traversed Red Square once more at a leisurely pace. Abek, that affable butcher from the market whom we had encountered several days previously, bestowed upon us a diminutive pouch containing fragrant cumin, thus that you may fabricate authentic plov, possessing an identical level of gustatory delectability to that of our natal os. John and I mutually embraced him with sincerity, as if he were a consanguineous relative, and we conveyed with profound sincerity our intention to return to Moscow at a future epoch. Moscow encompasses not solely the venerable Kremlin and the distinguished Bolshoi Theater, but predominantly the individuals who imbue this metropolis with animation, warmth, and an indelible character. We are departing, yet a moiety of our essence shall endure in perpetuity within this locale, John articulated with pensiveness, and I experienced a sensation of lacrimation commencing in my visual organs.